Here's another question that I've always thought needs to be posed to Charles Darwin. I've alluded to it before in another video that I've made a while back. And it has to do with the actual inherent value of existence itself. It's a difficult thing to actually explain what I'm going to try to get at here, other than elliptically, parabolically. But what I'm trying to ask is, what is it that motivates us in the Darwinian scheme of things to wish to survive? Why do we put our own existence in a place of importance in the grand scheme of things? One could say that that's a stupid question. I don't think it's very stupid. In fact, I think it's one of the most intelligent questions we can possibly ask ourselves. Is life worth living? And if it is, why? Physically speaking, biologically speaking, genetically speaking, we can explain exactly how I got to the point of sitting here in front of this computer screen talking to this webcam. How I evolved, or my ancestors evolved from lower forms, or different forms perhaps, however you like to phrase the term. How I got to be where I am. Why my DNA is still alive? Well, because my ancestors apparently were strong enough to stay alive and to stay in existence. All right, I understand that. I understand that that survival, success, is a drive. Look at me. I'm a middle-class, middle-aged white male living in North America. I'm pretty much at the top of the heap in the entire world. I can essentially do whatever I like. I don't have any very, very little interference in anything that I do, and I generally have enough money to do whatever I want. Why is it that there are plenty of people like me that seem to be so completely dissatisfied with the state of the world, the angry white male? In other words, what good is being a success, even in Darwinian terms? What's the point? Now, I know that a lot of Darwinians would simply say that we're simply that way because that's the way we are. We are programmed that way. I don't believe that at all. Because I think that we actually consciously seek to do things which actually don't make us happy, even though in the Darwinian scheme of things, they should. I'm about to take off for 2.5 months on a trip to Southeast Asia, in particular the Philippines. I may actually skip over to Indonesia, Malaysia. But the Philippines have always attracted me more than a lot of other places in the region, and one would wonder why. First of all, the country is in many ways a mess. It's ranked routinely as one of the world's most corrupt. One of Asia's, or at least the Orient's, most violent societies. Wherever you go, you'll see security guards toting shotguns right out in the open, something that you don't even see at all in North America. And generally, even in Latin America, you'll only see it in particularly violent places like Mexico or Colombia. And most of the people that you speak to, the Filipinos, they can't wait to get out. They want to go to the States, they want to go to Canada, they want to go to Australia, wherever, Dubai. And it's just, on the surface of it, it's an absolute mess. Now, you contrast this with the Asian success story, Japan. Everything works, everybody prospers. They've pretty much succeeded in the Darwinian sense, more than just about anyone else. I often said that Japan is probably the closest thing that we have to the perfect society. It's probably also the closest, to my mind at least, to a society that we have that resembles that portrayed in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. It's based upon all the normal Darwinian principles of success, which generally these days involves economic success, although increasingly, because the Japanese are becoming more frightened of the rise of China, they're starting to think about beefing up their armed forces again. So they might become again, and probably not in a way that makes the West nervous, a military power to be reckoned with. That's possible. Okay. Now, if you look at these two cultures, the Japanese and the Filipino, routinely the Filipinos top the world in terms of human happiness. They have a boundless sense of humor. It's often said, using that word usually. They tend to laugh at everything. Everything is hilarious. Everything is funny. Failure is met with mirth. And they're generally, I think it's the World Health Organization, when they canvass countries in the world, they're generally ranked at least in the top 5. I wouldn't be surprised if they routinely are number 1 in the world of the world's happiest people. Now, you wouldn't think that, according to Darwin, that it should be that way. They shouldn't be. The Japanese should be happier than they are because the Japanese have won at the game. Their squares on the Monopoly board have a lot more little bits of green and red plastic on them. They've gotten ahead in the world. Well, I won't say that I'm an expert on the Japanese, but I do understand that they're one of the more angst-ridden cultures in society. They have a terrible problem with things like anxiety, depression, suicide, even alcoholism, this kind of thing. And who would I really rather be in the grand scheme of things? Well, I'd like to have the material prosperity of the Japanese, and I'd like to have the mental outlook of the Filipino. Who do I think is probably the most successful? I would say the person who ends his days with a smile on his face. Now, Darwin, you can't tell me how your scheme of things can actually measure that. The Japanese are doing things right, according to your way of looking at things, Mr. Darwin. But given my druthers, I would rather have the soul of a Filipino. Thank you.